During 2011, a young South African man named Stephen McGown began to live what seemed to be the trip of his life. During several months and even years, he had been planning to ride his motorcycle from the UK and then crossing a ride across the west coast of Europe and then ride across the west coast of Africa. This trip was supposed to last 6 months because that was the agreement he had with his wife because she couldn't travel with him. A few weeks before starting the trip, Stephen met a couple from Sweden and a man from Denmark, and they decided to join him on his trip. So the trip began very well, and a few months after, they were in Timbuktu discussing in the terrace of the hotel they were staying some routes and maps, and suddenly they started to hear a man yelling very, very near from they were. This man was armed and he started shooting on the air. So they were very, very scared and they got under the table to cover themselves and expecting that everything was going to pass very soon. The armed man, along with two other guys, approached the table, dragged Stephen from under the table, put him on the floor, and with a gun in his neck, they tied their hands and their arms and covered his head. They put him on a vehicle along with the other friends, and they traveled throughout the night, going. They didn't know where. The following morning, they arrived into a community, and they saw a lot of men and boys armed, speaking in a language that they couldn't understand. They were very aggressive, and they even speed very near from where they were. A few minutes later, two armed men started to say something and called these guys, and it was then that they asked them to record a testimony. Then they realized that they were being kidnapped by Al Qaeda. The nightmare began. During several months and even years, Stephen was forced to travel around different communities in order to hide from other armies that were looking for Al Qaeda. He was also forced to build his own hut on the sand with no more than 1 meter high because the shadow could reflect and the airplanes from the other armies could find them. He lived like that for about 2 years or a little bit more, and one day, very, very desperate, he asked himself, why am I still alive? His mental and physical health was completely deteriorated. He was very, very ill, and even his relationship with the other hostages was really bad. So he kept asking himself why I'm still alive. And he suddenly realized that he had a true, deep purpose. He really wanted to see his family again. He knew that they were living a hell, thinking if he was still alive and in what conditions. So the only thing he wanted was to hug them again. In that moment, he knew that he had two options. The first option was to keep surviving as he was doing at that moment, or the other option was to change what was on his hands to have a little bit better quality of life. So he began by establishing an exercise routine. He established a friendly relationship with some of the soldiers, of the Al Qaeda soldiers. He learned how to speak Arabic, and he studied everything about the Islam because he really wanted to understand the people he was surrounded by, and the way that he think. So he volunteered to help in the kitchen, and he noticed that some of them didn't know how to write or read. So he started teaching some of the soldiers how to read and how to basic maths and problem solving and all that. And even one time or few times he translated messages to different governments. It was after 5 years and 8 months that Stephen McGown was released to the South African government. Today he lives with his wife, he works with his dad, and he's in a very good mental and physical condition. He believes and he states that there are 3 main factors why he could survive this situation and live a fulfilled life today. The first one is a true, meaningful purpose, attitude, and actions. Have a great day.